Good afternoon. It's very nice to be here. It's genuinely a privilege to be here on the same platform with the other writers and with Catherine. Catherine does such a fantastic job with the book festival, and you know, we all love her. We all love the book festival and how it's come on and how it's this just fantastic shiny thing in the cultural life of Scotland. And as she hasn't had a round of applause for herself, I think she should have one now. And it's great to be in a room full of, you know, British Council people and people who care about literature. An amazingly cheap form, which is just hugely penetrating and transformative and enlightening and just about the life of the heart and the mind. And if we let that die and don't fund it and don't put books in libraries and don't educate our children, hell mend us, really. There's a choice. Because the story is quite long, it's 20 minutes long, and I only have 10 minutes, part of which I've just used. Either you can have the beginning bit, which might lead you to believe that there's a surprise happy ending, however unlikely that might seem, or slight trick or treat, really. It's or you can have, you know, the hideous dark conclusion. It just depends what mood you're in. I'm quite up for either.
You said no audience participation.
End? Hideous end? Hideous end? No. Nice beginning. Okay, we'll do nice beginning. It's far too early in the day for hideous end. So this is called Marriage. Kind of know where that's going, don't you? This isn't working, he can tell. Anybody would be able to tell. The fact of this not working is so very obvious that he can picture it forming a cloud, an area of staining somewhere in his brain, which will be exactly the colour of failure. Failure being, now he thinks about it, a mix of yellow and acid green, with maybe a touch of brown. Yes, there ought to be brown. Shit brown. Reconciliation, a merry stroll together, preparation for a fresh start to their night. None of this will happen, only the failure. There is a little rain, dusty, irritating, and more to come. The greyness overhead creeping into their clothes, their skin, while something bruised and potentially drenching gathers above and to his left. Since they passed the library, the threat of spiteful weather seems to have been tracking them, implausibly watchful. And her shoulders are already locked in that depressive-looking flinch away from him, the usual. So they won't have fun. They won't be happy. They won't chat. They will just walk, trudge on. She will ruin their afternoon. Her feet will continue to bang down with a rhythm that is not his own, that doesn't even seem quite hers. She will beat up ahead of him, striding out for that full yard of distance, keeping it wedged in between them. She likes making him study her back, a back which grows more eloquent the longer he stares at it. Currently it is both wounded and resentful. In another half an hour it will be martyred. And she will be an icon of patient suffering. He realises he has already started shrugging at passers-by to offset her effects. Any especially interested strangers are offered a little purse of the lips, a slight raising of his eyebrows, suggesting something along the lines of, "My wife, you have to love her, eh?" Well, I have to anyway. She's temperamental, you might say, operatic. Still, we weather the storms. Oh, indeed we do, both of us. Here we are, weathering. Or sometimes he droops his head. The well-disciplined husband peers out at possibly like-minded gents. In the doghouse again, then? Silly me. A few streets ago, she raised her pace, and she's still rushing. She's not running, though, nothing as frank and outgoing as that, and nothing casual or girlish. She won't break into a trot. She is a subtle woman, and has settled for a kind of driven scamper, because this will disturb him most. She is forcing her body to seem undefended, animal, and draws him on behind her into a state of contagious despair. He feels himself caught in the movements of an anxious man, pursuing, pursued, escaping, arriving too late for essential but undefined assistance, losing support. Not that I ever am late. That's her trick. Punctual me. Punctual parents. That's what sets you right. Trained before you know it, and as a result, you're courteous. Whenever you're needed, you're already there. He folds his hands into his pockets. Soft flannel lining, warm. The flannel there at his request. My request. My coat. It's consolation. The only piece of clothing that he's ever had made. Bespoke. Specifically cut and fitted for his shoulders, his arms, his back. The touch of it against him like a light embrace. Something manly, brotherly. She remarked on its cost at the time, of course, couldn't help herself. At least she'd looked at him and never even smiled while he told her about this amazing little old-fashioned shop he'd found and the bolts and bolts of tweed they had inside and the remarkable, genuinely surprising lack of expense about it all if you considered the work involved and the fact that such an overcoat would last a lifetime, very easily a lifetime. She had simply shaken her head at him as if he'd been fooled, as if advantage had been taken, which meant that he'd not had a chance to mention the tailor. His tailor. The pallid and serious face, the deft hands as they measured, the voice so very certain and precise as it rattled off a pattern of numbers to an assistant. His tailor had an assistant and marked out the code to record a form, to recall it and set it, everything about it, snug. And he didn't, until later, make a point of describing the atmosphere of complete civility. Not fawning, nobody likes that. They just had a proper way of seeing. They saw me. I gave them my time, they studied, paused for thought, and then they understood the way I want to be, the way I really ought to be. They surprised me with myself. First fitting, and the man there in the mirror, he's wearing this big coat, long coat, something with personality, something to draw attention. He's standing well, firmly, so the cloth hangs as it should. He doesn't fidget, doesn't have to. He meets my eyes. No staring, only confidence, interest, calm. I like him. I like myself, my better self, my better whole self. I'm not actually tall and striking, but they knew, the shop folk. They were sure I could carry it off. My coat. Didn't ask for any changes, only let them refine their work. Chalk and pens and whispers, let them give me this one thing that is absolutely as it should be. Nice to be able to redefine what you deserve. While she scurries on ahead, he feels the coat clap at his shins, its weight pressing and cuddling around him. Serious weather shows it off to advantage, naturally. Breezes sleek it against him or flare it wide. Rain lets him turn up his collar, as he did when he stepped outside this morning, a part of his mind dipping quickly through into a finer, much more cinematic world of couples whose romances started on ocean liners or cross-country trains. Careless and witty people who solve mysteries, sing in nightclubs, only fight before falling much harder and deeper back into love. He and his wife were not falling. Not anywhere. Yep.